I've been back and forth with a person on YouTube, and the person's claiming I was delusional for claiming not to have a religion. The definition I used straight up in my video was from Merriam-Webster, while his definition came from Wikipedia and Dictionary.com, which cited Random House Dictionary, and Random House only sells Merriam-Webster that I could find. The link he used from Wikipedia claimed to be from Oxford English Dictionary, but it instead dumped me at Dictionary.com, a wiki-style dictionary. Just like in any dictionary, there are multiple meanings for the same word, just like the headache we have with the word theory, as when a scientist uses the word, it means an explanation model that does not go against known facts and uses Occam's razor to require the least number of unknowns to have to find evidence for, while the layperson, it means guess. Yes, you were right, the theory means guess, but not when a scientist uses it. According to Dictionary.com, a religion is a belief of how the origins of life and the universe came to be. I know of no one who uses this definition this way, but by this broad and reworked definition, then I do have a religion by one definition of one source. But everyone knows what definition I'm using as I defined it at the beginning of the video, so the argument is just plain stupid. This is as pointless as redefining God. There are already perfectly good words to define the natural mechanical workings of the universe, so why call it God? By redefining God, I can be called a theist. By redefining socialism, racism, conservatism, or Nazism, I could fit the definition of any of these. However, people seem to think in absolutes when it comes to language. We all have our favorite definition for a word, probably backed up by one of the definitions in the dictionary, and unfortunately, these have emotional charges to them. NPR and The Daily Show have interviewed a person whose company, Karl Rove, hired for the Bush campaign to run surveys and find out what the most emotionally charged words of the time were in the majority of the American populace. These were the words used on the American people in speeches to get the most emotional and least logical responses from the American people. The thing is, words are being redefined daily and vary by region or even group. To a theist, atheists are horrible people who believe in nothing and believe 100% certain that God does not exist and could never exist. To an atheist, it just means that they have not yet found sufficient evidence to base a belief in God, and therefore they do not. These negative connotations given to words gave me a phobia of both atheism, evolution, or Neanderthals, because my parents had the same reaction. Irrational phobias are most often passed down by mimicking the reaction of parents, as they are also caused by generalizations of a situation, either traumatic or just negative and prejudiced. Negative connotations are wonderful to the religious community, as it keeps them scared of things they don't understand, but since it's a charged word, they won't go near it to look at it neutrally and examine it for themselves. During the Red Scare in the 50s, the Pentagon figured out that using religion as another way to differentiate us from the evil commies was quite useful, as it added another dimension to the us versus them against the Russians. Now, capitalism equals Jesus, so even if a person may have been sympathetic to the ideas of communism, they sure as hell wouldn't be sympathetic for an evil atheist idea. The two groups of capitalists and Christians now held the majority, which allowed the McCarthy witch trials to continue for 5 to 10 years. This was enough suppression of free speech to redefine the American language and ferment irrational emotional charges into the minds of the American populace. Language is the start of all wars. If a leader wants to go to war, they can easily change the definition to vilify an otherwise similar population. Good memories linked with words help reinforce their power. Emotionally charged words make it easier for us to remember that word, especially a conceptual word that is not tangible. Salt, for example, activates many memory tags: texture, taste, chemical formulation, negative thoughts when it comes to cars or high sodium, good connotations when it comes to flavor and helping avoid dehydration. Concepts are harder to define and memorize. Fixing emotions and feelings to concepts makes it easier for us to grasp at least a vague concept of a definition. It also, however, prevents us from actually analyzing the concepts unbiasedly, so we may make uninformed opinions based solely on our emotions. Arguing over definitions is a great tactic used to make people with no evidence appear informed on a topic because it sounds complex to the casual observer. It also stalls and uses up time to ensure that the other party doesn't have enough time to get their point across. The inanity of the discussion can also cause frustration and use up mental energy to throw the opponent off their game. You can also use the argument to make your opponent look weak with a non sequitur like, "Look, this person doesn't even know the definition of this word. How can you trust him to know anything about his field of expertise he spent his entire life studying?" Language is extremely ductile and plastic, and will change and meld throughout the regions and time. Nothing ever gets done if you spend your time arguing about those rare definitions, but boy does it help slow down progress, especially if there is a lot of emotions tied in the minds of the majority to what the word means. The Merriam-Webster is pretty much the final word on any definition in the American English language. The Oxford English is the final word on British English. If a person is going to argue the rules of the debate and nitpick meanings instead of bringing substance to a debate, where they know what you mean but will still argue it anyway, then there's no point in debating them. They are changing the rules of the game of definitions and reality anytime the debate is no longer in their favor. Don't fall for this. These people are a complete waste of time.